Welcome back. Today we're jumping into First Corinthians chapter 2. And it kicks off with something, well, a bit puzzling right away. Paul's talking about when he first showed up in Corinth. You'd think bringing huge news, he'd arrive with, amazing speeches, maybe some killer arguments.
Yeah, that's sort of the standard playbook, isn't it? Win people over with logic or charisma. But he says, I did not come to you with eloquence or superior wisdom. Flat out says it. In fact, he paints a really different picture, coming in weakness and fear and with much trembling.
Wow. Yeah, that feels deliberately counterintuitive. Like he's avoiding the usual tactic.
Totally. Undermining the standard way you try to persuade people.
Right. And it's one of the first big takeaways here, that whole idea. He wasn't leaning on like great speaking skills, his message, his preaching.
Yeah.
He says it wasn't about wise and persuasive words. Instead, he had this incredibly sharp focus.
Laser focus.
He decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. That was it.
Just that, the core message. No fancy additions, no trying to make it sound more philosophical or appealing to the intellectuals of the day.
And the reason he gives for this kind of stripped back approach,
Yeah,
that's crucial, right?
absolutely crucial. It wasn't just like his personal style or maybe he wasn't a great speaker. No, it was intentional. He says it clearly. So that your faith might not rest on human wisdom, but on God's power.
Okay. So the foundation matters. He wanted their belief rooted in something solid, something divine, not just clever argument.
Exactly. Not just human cleverness, a totally different source. That's a fundamental point he's making right at the start.
Okay, let's dig into that a bit more.
Yeah.
He seems to be pushing back hard against what he calls the wisdom of this age. Calls it temporary, says it's fading, but then he offers an alternative.
Yes, this is where the contrast gets really sharp. He talks about God's secret wisdom, describes it as hidden, something God planned, like before time for our glory.
Yeah.
Way bigger time scale.
Hidden wisdom. And he points out that the powerful people, the rulers of this age, they completely missed it.
Completely didn't understand it at all. He even says if they had, they wouldn't have crucified Jesus. It was just invisible to their way of thinking.
Which leads to the big question, right? If this wisdom is secret, hidden, how do you actually get it? It doesn't sound like reading more books or winning debates is the way, according to this chapter.
No, not at all. The text draws a really stark line here. It quotes the Old Testament, saying, what no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no human mind has conceived, these amazing things God has prepared. They're beyond our normal senses, beyond just thinking really hard.
So beyond our usual ways of knowing things.
Right, but then it immediately says, but God has revealed it to us by his Spirit.
Okay, so it's a different channel. Revelation through the Spirit.
Precisely. It's presented as a different way of knowing, a spiritual understanding, not just intellectual horsepower.
So it's like a different mode of perception, like trying to explain color to someone who's only ever seen black and white, maybe. Is that fair?
That's a pretty good analogy, actually, because the text suggests the divide is that deep. It says pretty directly, the person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God. They think it's foolishness. And it says they cannot understand them. Why? Because they are spiritually discerned.
Wow. Not just disagreement, but an actual inability to grasp it without that spiritual element.
Yeah, it's about needing a different kind of sight or perception, things understood spiritually.
And this leads to that really powerful statement near the end that we have the mind of Christ.
Right, that's the culmination. It pulls together this whole contrast. You've got the world's limited temporary wisdom on one side, and on the other, this deep, hidden, eternal wisdom revealed by the Spirit. And it changes your understanding so much, it's like having the mind of Christ.
A fundamental shift in perspective then.
That's what it claims, yeah, a totally different way of seeing.
So thinking about this deep dive into 1 Corinthians 2, what does this mean for you listening? If some truths need to be spiritually discerned, as the text says, how might that affect how you approach understanding things, even everyday things? What could it mean practically to try and view challenges or ideas or even just the news through what's called the mind of Christ? It definitely makes you think about the lenses we use to see reality, doesn't it? And whether there are other ways to understand altogether, something to chew on.